The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this lovely region of Kisumu. This is the Great Debaters Contest. I'm your host, Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. Today we are asking, does the government have the sole responsibility of implementing climate change initiatives? St. Mary's Lwak Girls goes versus St. Peter's Rambula. We'll have them take the stage now. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, as far as the wife of the former US President Barack Obama is concerned, my name is Michelle Ateno Ambalo from St. Peter's Rambula Secondary School. I stand here in peace but not in pieces to propose this motion that says the government has sole responsibilities to implement climate change initiatives. First, what is a government? This is a system of administration responsible for political, social, and economic leadership over states. What about climate change? Climate change, this is any significant change in measures of climatic lasting for extended period of time. Examples of climatic change, we have change in temperature, as well as the effect which occurs in several decades. Causes of climatic change, we have change in greenhouse gases, and atmospheric concentration of greenhouse gases. What about initiatives? These are the policies and practices aimed at responding to climatic change. So responsibilities, it is the reliability of response of climate change initiatives. The wise men said, together we stand, divided we fall. But today, I stand alone to oppose this say that today I stand alone supporting the motion that says the government have the sole responsibilities to implement climate change initiatives. On to my first point, on to taxation. The government has the sole responsibilities in collecting the taxes so as to be able to implement climate change. On to my second point is mobilizing the citizen. Only the government has the sole responsibilities and has the power in our country, Kenya, to mobilize the citizen. Among us here, who has at least 10 friends from the other nation who can tell us that they can also be implemented in the organization in climatic change? No one. International cooperation, only the government is able to cooperate with the other nations worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you. St. Mary's Lwak, you have 3 minutes for your opening statements.
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones to bring a change. So let's work together. The government has the sole responsibility to implement the climate change initiatives. I object. Why? Let me ask you, who is the country? I believe I, Catherine from Lwak, is the country. You are the country. The government is the country. What does this imply? I have an objective. You have an objective. The government has an objective. Together, we have an objective. To do what? To implement the climate change initiatives. First of all, there is something not coming clearly. Sole responsibility. What's the meaning of this term? This is an individual or a group's duty. An individual or a group's duty. And I beg to make myself clear. When I pose this motion, I'm not doing away with the government totally. I'm involving the government and other people so that together they work as one. Everybody has a responsibility. It is an individual responsibility to plant trees. A better example is the late Professor Wangari Maathai. A woman I live to remember. A woman whose impact is still felt in the world. Oh, Professor Wangari Maathai, we miss you so much. This woman took upon it to plant trees herself. Nevertheless, she came up with the Green Belt movement, which is supposed to be fighting for the planting of trees. With the current statistics, we have it that the Green Belt movement has planted over 30 million trees. May audience get me right. 30 million trees. If we had so many Wangari Maathais in the country, do we still need the government's input? Do we? We have social institutions. An example is school, we have churches. A better example is my school. We have our teachers encouraging us on the importance of trees. We have our teachers encouraging us on how trees can be helpful to us. In churches, we have religious teachers. They teach us how we can plant trees and how we can improve on them. How many of you are advocates of planting for trees? For example, Judge Maina, how many trees have we ever planted? Thank you. We have to work together. The country is me and you. The country is not the government only. Remember, my input and the government's input will bring a change. We have to unite ourselves. We have to come together. We have to be united. The country needs us. The country needs the government. As I stand here, this is an innocent voice, crying and urging, let us work together. Let us work for the good of our country. Let us work so that together we can move Kenya to a better place. Thank you, and it pains me that I have to leave, but I still beg to talk. Thank you.
First examinations now. St. Peter's, you have 3 minutes.
Remember, once there was a man who suffered greatly in the Bible. That was Ayub. After that, I was called Osiro Ayub. Notwithstanding that, I was a strong follower of Jesus, and that is why I went to learn in St. Peter's Rambula, named after the strong follower of Jesus, Peter. My opponent, the government is us, the nation is us. But remember, we elect the government to work for us. The tax we pay to the government is not enough to do all the other functions. But the tax that the citizens pay should be used to implement the climate change initiatives. Remember, according to 2009 statistics, the population of Kenya is 38,610,067. All of them are attributed to the revenue to the government. And that yielded an amount of 1.2 trillion as a revenue of 2016-2017 budget. Ask yourself, where are all this money going to be used? If not, in implementing climate change. The government can act on behalf of the citizens and seek guidance and aid from international corporations. An example is the Kyoto Protocol. These international corporations can give guidelines to a nation to help in implementing the climate change initiatives. Remember, my opponents, that through the Ministry of Education, the government can introduce the climate change initiatives into the syllabus, which when learned by the students, it awakens their imaginative. My opponents, please remember this. There are some international corporations that give finances to a nation. Without the government, they cannot offer it. Therefore, we need to have a government in order to get these finances that can be used to finance the climate change initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. Look at most of the industries which are major causes of environmental pollution that can result to climate change. These industries are licensed by the government, and remember they are parastatals. They are licensed by the government. Therefore, the government has a responsibility there to ensure that these industries have installed electrostatic precipitators that filter the gases that enter the atmosphere. With all those, thank you, but remember, let us together empower the government and give it a responsibility to initiate the climate change initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
What about rain? What about sunshine? What about the green, serene environment that was once there before and is not here now? And here we are debating on whose sole responsibility it is to implement climate change initiatives. It breaks my heart. It tore my soul to pieces to think that I have to take part in this debate. But thank you for giving me this golden chance to blow the wind of wisdom into you, into your mind. You've said, our opponents have said that it is the government to work for us. But what if we are not ready to give the government the push to work for us? What if we are not the ones who are willing to accept the government's work towards us? Now, allow me to go over to my points. My first point is majorly based on energy conservation. Professor Wangari Maathai. Yes, indeed, she was a great woman. She was a great woman to the extent that she initiated that over 30 million trees were planted under the Green Belt movement, and she was under that. But these trees are at risk. Why? They are reducing day by day. We are cutting down trees. We are using them for what? Making charcoal. And also using them for firewood. Is this right? No, it is not right. Individuals, innovative individuals and groups have come up with energy-saving vehicles. They have come up with energy-saving vehicles, and this is helping us in conserving these trees. It is our responsibility. It is your responsibility. It is my responsibility. My second point is on reducing the cumulative effect of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Take a look at this scenario. You come with a car to this place. He comes with a car to this place. We all come with cars to this place. And each and every car is emitting excessive amount of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Let us relate that to our country, Kenya. What if everyone in Kenya owned a car? How would it be? How would it look like? The amount of carbon dioxide being emitted to the atmosphere would lead to the depletion of the ozone layer. Now, it is not upon one person, it is not upon the government, but it is upon all of us to work together as one. It is my objective. It is your objective. It is our objective. It is not a matter of who is to blame. It is not a matter of who did this and who has not done that. But it is a matter of us coming together as one and seeing to it that all these climate changes initiatives are implemented. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our audience. The proposition I've been asked to give examples of these climate change initiatives that the government should be implementing. And the opposition have been asked if they're not contradicting themselves when they encourage the use of things such as energy-saving jikos that still use charcoal. We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Many cooks spoil the soup. Many rats cannot dig a hole. Remember that it is only an individual, not groups, that can make intentions. So first, the government can or is supposed to be given the sole responsibility to implement the climate change initiatives. Because the budgets, we do have the budgets. If the government has entered into rule, we have the budgets. These budgets are set aside, and we have to divide this money. It is a huge amount of money. So if you are working together or you are working, it's as if, let us say that if the government has not been given this sole responsibility, where will this money go for? Ask yourself that. So next, through ambassadors, the government can bring the initiatives through inventions by ambassadors in various countries. These ambassadors can bring how those other countries, they are doing it to make their country green. Because you cannot tell me that it is all us as citizens, we go to another countries to see how they make their countries green, then we come with it. It is the government, through its socio-economic sectors, to bring the new techniques of bringing the land into green nature. Also, the government has laws to be followed, like the electrostatic precipitator. The China government in 2014 actually proposed that if an industry is to be constructed, it must have an electrostatic precipitator in order to bring down the effect of the anthropologic effect of the greenhouse gas effect. Also, the government is the one to license these industries. Or will just an industry be opened without the government's recognition? So let us put it forward that the government has the sole responsibility because it is them who will license these industries to work, and it must qualify. Lastly, incorporation of the topic, like the environmental cooperation, it must put forward a topic that we should plant trees to make our country green. Thank you.
Thank you. St. Mary's, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
If this house was to be set ablaze right now, tell me, would you sit back and wait just because you're not the fire brigade to put out the fire? Our opponents have asked us a question concerning the energy-saving GCOs. To give a response to your answers, I would like to inform you that there's a difference between these energy-saving GCOs and the rest of the GCOs simply because they use less amounts of charcoal. And don't you think that is conserving our environment? We'll be using less trees. Less trees are going to be cut for the same. Last speaker from the opponents have just talked about the government involving ambassadors from other countries. Don't you think that is involving other parties? Are you not contradicting yourself? When you talk about the sole responsibility, you are already telling us that you are involving other nations, meaning you also agree with us that united we stand and divided we fall. Let us look at facts. The projected studies from the Kenya Meteorological Department clearly tells us that the temperatures of Kenya are likely to increase between a range of 1 degree Celsius and 3 degrees Celsius. What does this drive into your minds? Come to think of this, my audience. Things are getting worse. Remember, just an increase of 1 degree Celsius is enough to aggravate the attendant aridity of a place, especially the low-lying areas. Take a look at Mombasa. You heard it. It was said, and you thought it was a rumor, that Mombasa Island will be submerged in the next 50 years. Studies from the Kenya Meteorological Department prove to us the same. What are you waiting for? Is this not enough to wake us up and tell us that it is already enough? We cannot wait for the government to do for us everything. I'm not going to stand and watch our country look as though we are being spoon-fed like babies. We need to see, we need to judge, we need to think and act on our own. The government has played its role. The government does not need to come into your place, plant trees, ensure that the trees grow, and then they also come ensure that no tree is cut. They only have to come, launch, at least in my own school. I have a perfect example. I remember some years back, during the celebration of the Silver Jubilee, the president by then came to our school and planted 2 trees, which was an indication that we had the power to continue with what he had already started. So, remember this, my audience. A head cannot do without the rest of the body. Neither can a passion fruit bear trees without another to support it. Come on, let's work together. Shalom.
Final statements now. Proposers, you have 1 minute.
Yes, the government can. Principle of the former president of America, that is Barack Obama. Remember, an Archbishop of South Africa in 2015 said that, let now the people of consent break down their ties and fight climate change. That was none other than Desmond Tutu. Once again, it's Osiro Ayub of St. Peter's Rambula. First, let me take you through the historical facts. Last month, that is the month of May, change in precipitation occurred. Mombasa and Samburu were subjected to great floods. Where were the common citizens? They were behind, busy crying for the government to offer them aid. My question is now, then, who has that responsibility to implement the climate change initiatives? Come together, empower the government, and you shall see a change. The government has sole responsibility to implement the climate change initiatives.
Ladies, you have a minute as well for your final statement.
Sustainable Development Goal number 13, under climate action. We have it. To improve education awareness, raising human and institutional capacity on climate change, mitigation, adaptation, impact reduction, and early warning. We have something to do. We are working towards something. Something that will change our lives. Something that will bring a better end. We have to come together. That's our call. We are urging you to join hands. The government is only one. But remember, we, together with the government, we are two. We can bring something better. The problem is not the government. The problem is me and you. Come together, support the government. We take our country somewhere far. Thank you so much.
St. Peter's, you know, there were many issues you could have pointed out to. For example, the policies that have been put in place, some of the partnerships and the agreements we've put ourselves into as a country, and our point the government being the sole responsibility for climate change. But congratulations for what you've done.
Mutual, good divinations, but you did not go down to the issues of how the government or how the people are being mobilized to get to what's being done. In other words, you enumerated the points, but you did not go down to give the explanation and give your support from the very facts that are already existing. Geoffrey, thank you so much for the hilarious introduction. It got us into the issue. But what thing that I'm commending you for is the research of electrostatic precipitator. And that is a very good research, and I want to commend you for having gone on to that, because I want to converse, I have heard of that in the first place. So I will go and read about it and get to know information. It's good to take us ahead of the information. Diana, thank you, because you started well, and you took us to the place where we needed to be. And that is why Rhoda, you could quite eloquently move into the topic and involve even the audience with the rhetorics, which was very good. And we want to commend you for having involved the audience from the beginning to the end. You seem to have had the tact, Juliet, for giving us a comment such as, a head cannot do without the body, which was very logical and drawing us into the conclusion. Otherwise, thank you so much for that competition that we've already had.
Thank you very much. I'll begin with St. Peter's Rambula. The judges awarded you 63%. Please give them a round of applause. Their opponent, St. Mary's Lwak, the judges awarded you 72%, making you the winners of this debate.
Thank you very much. A big congratulations to the two teams on stage for such a wonderful debate. We'd also like to thank you, members of the audience, for being so active, and our viewers back home. Join the conversation. #GDC for SDGs. I've been your host, Austin Yambok.
I am Mariam Bishar. Thank you for watching.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.